Hey there, it's Don with the DIY Collaborative. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're unboxing a pole saw, an electric pole saw that we got from our local Harbor Freight. The brand on this is Portland. It is basically just an extendable pole saw for, in other words, it's a chainsaw mounted on a pole, I believe. Okay, it looks like it comes with your typical owner's manual and safety instructions. There also appears to be a pretty good size Allen wrench screwdriver combination in there, and we'll find out what that's for here in a minute. Looks like the blade assembly, maybe some other parts, and the chain are also in this packaging here, as well as a protective cover to put on the chain. So a little bit of assembly is going to be required on this one. Straight out of the box though, this one feels pretty good and sturdy. I've not had one of their particular brands before, but I have had other brands. I had one that I used for a number of years and basically wore it out recently. So I was looking to replace it because I'm constantly trying to keep, you know, the little sucker limbs and things like that, and I'll show you later on some of my trees around my property, just, you know, cleaned up and looking nice. And this looks like it might do the trick. So we'll get it put together and let's see how it works. Okay, one of the things that I wanted to point out on this one that it did not come with is any bar chain oil. You will need this to use this unit. One of the other units that I've unboxed from Harbor Freight actually came with a small bottle so that you could actually, you know, be up and running and get started. This unit did not come with it, so you can pick this up at like a hardware store. And one of the things that I noted too is that Harbor Freight does not sell bar and chain oil. I don't know why, but that's just an item that they opted not to sell. But anyway, we'll get to putting that in here in a minute. First, we want to assemble the actual bar with the chain and get it on the unit. Here, incidentally, is where that bar chain oil is going to go when we're ready to put it in. But essentially what you want to do is take the little tool that they gave you, which is a screwdriver Allen wrench combination, and on the side of the unit there is, and they give you, you know, detailed instructions about how to do this. So be sure and pay attention to these, and it's also a good idea to go ahead and look through these and notice some of the, you know, the safety instructions and things like that. This is an electric power tool that you're using, so you'll want to pay attention to that as well. Okay, basically what we're going to do is take this sprocket clamp off here by loosening this hex nut that's on here with this Allen wrench. And to do that, you just basically unscrew it, take that out, and when you get that loose, this cover is going to come off like that. And once you're inside of here, it's going to actually have a place. This is the tensioner adjustment here, if you will, and that's what your screwdriver is for. Once you have the bar on, that's actually going to sit. This hole here is actually going to sit on that tensioner, and when you'll see that here in a minute, but when you get the blade on, you'll use this to screw this tensioner in and out, and that's basically that's what's going to tighten or keep your blade with the proper amount of tension on it. So let's go ahead and get that on. And you'll also notice on the side of your bar, they've given you a little indicator as to what direction you can get the chainsaw blade on, or what, you know, direction you should put it on in. You can actually get a chainsaw blade on backwards, and when you do that, it's not going to cut so well. So you'll want to pay attention when you're putting your blade on, that these line up. And I'll try to show you that here if I can. Laying it on this white piece of paper here, so hopefully you can see that. So essentially what they're talking about here is this little section right here is this little guy right here. So if you'll notice, this cutting area here is back here like this. So when we put this blade on right here like this is the correct direction or the correct method to put this blade on this bar. If we were to flip this over, it would be backwards and that wouldn't actually work. So let's go ahead and get it on there. To get it on there, you're just going to line the blade up on the bar like this. You can see how it kind of slips into place. And this is all covered in the instructions. If you're not able to see this in the video, this is really not what the video is about. It's more about the unboxing. But then that'll go in here, and you'll want to line your blade up over your sprocket like that, and then get it into place. And as I suspected in this case, you're going to need to release the tensioner a little bit because it's all the way out right now. So we're going to move that over to the side, and we want to loosen this tensioner to where this knob that's sticking up here is going to be back this direction some, to where we can get the holes lined up. So, and you can see as I'm screwing that, this is moving that way, which is what I want. I want it to be looser than it was. The way they had it, it was all the way in the tightest position, if you will. So now I've got it about halfway, so I'm going to see if that'll allow us to line it up into place. It's still not quite enough, and it's probably because this unit is a new unit. So I'm going to go ahead and release a little bit more of the tension off of it by turning it like that. Now that looks like it may be enough, and now I was able to get that lined up. And you'll want to pay attention here to make sure that your blade is engaged in your bar all the way, which I think we've got here. You want to get your tensioner knob in this hole here, get the blade lined up in the sprocket here. You can see how the blades, the inner portion of the blade is actually engaging in the sprocket here, and that's what's going to engage and cause the blade to actually turn. So now we want to put this cover back on like so, and we're going to put the hex nut back in and tighten that up. And before you get this all the way tight, we'll want to adjust the tension on the blade. That's what's going to take up any extra slack here, and you can see right now I've got some slack, which you don't want. Okay, I've got that fairly tight, and I'm going to turn it over to the other side now to where I can get in here and turn my tension knob to where the tension on the blade tightens up until it's tight enough to use. Okay, we can see now that it's actually getting tighter, so that's what I want. See, there's not nearly as much slack as there was. You want to continue to tighten that until it's about like this, and you can check it to see if it's, you know, engaged and it's turning freely. Now that I've turned it a little bit here, it still looks like it's a little bit too loose, so I'm actually going to tighten it just a little bit more. And this is also something that you'll want to check pretty frequently when you're using the tool, because as this chainsaw blade gets worn, it'll stretch just a minute amount, and this could come loose and, you know, cause it to disengage a little bit. But you'll want to make sure that this is frequently checked and adjusted as needed or as appropriate. You don't want to get that too tight. There needs to be a little bit of play in there. And I think they actually go over that in the instruction booklet. So it looks like I've about got that to the specifications that they suggest. And then what you're going to do is come back and retighten your hex nut here the rest of the way up where the cover is on that sprocket. And then when you're not using this unit, they actually give you a little safety cover to put over the blade, which is a good idea because this, these are very sharp, so you'll want to keep that in place. Well, as you can probably tell, I had some technical difficulties. I was too hot, and the iPhone got too hot, so it decided to shut down and not do any more filming. But I think you get the general idea. This thing seems pretty good. Straight out of the box, we're going to give it a try, and give us your feedback and comments, questions that you might have. Let us know what you think, and be sure and stop by Harbor Freight and check this out if you get an opportunity. Thanks for stopping by the channel.